Welcome back to Stories Beyond Borders. In the last episode, we heard about the moment this family made the decision to leave Cuba. But leaving brought a whole new set of new challenges. In this episode, we follow what happens next, arriving in the United States and trying to build a life from the ground up. It's a story about starting over, figuring things out, and facing moments you don't always see coming. Told through the voices of my abuelo, mi tío, and my mom, each experiencing this new chapter in their own way. This is what it means to begin again. How was the experience of flying to the United States?
We fly, I was impressed a little bit because I said, oh my God, we fly through 30 million down. I say, how can be two different worlds? Too close. Cuba is a different world.
Yeah.
And when we got to Miami, I say, we are too close to each other and two different lives, two different worlds to live, you know? And later we take the plane from Miami. Well, in Miami, when you got to Miami, many people come to you and offer, oh, you can stay because the Cuban community is be here, you feel good. But I say, I had to go to St. Louis because I had to say thank you to these people that they helped me with ticket, with everything. Because I don't have no family member that say, oh, I can help you. And I want to go there and say thank you and see what happened later. And we fly here. In trans was the TWA, was the airline at that time. Mama was sleeping the whole flight. Louis was almost sleeping too. I was at work talking to Maria, and we got here maybe like a 7:30 or 8 at night. Was pretty cool. Was September. Yeah, temperature was cool.
How was it like to start over again?
Well, you know, I don't feel too hard because it's what I want. I want to change.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep it there. It's maybe it can be hard, but this hardness give you something bad. That you feel free, that you feel you can think for yourself, that you make opinion, that you can feel yourself at one moment. Sometimes in Cuba you have to be yourself, but sometimes you have to go a little bit and to be yourself because the system don't allow you to be sometimes yourself. And here, no problem.
Yeah, but how was it like to start a life here and, you know, like get a house or buy clothes?
Well, even I got my profession, I never think in my mind that maybe I can get the same. I can here prepare.
Oh, okay.
I can here prepare to do whatever. I don't care. Housekeeper, custodian, no matter. If you work decent and you do everything all right, don't worry about it. And this is the way I think.
So
I can here, I start to be a custodian in school, in high school. My wife was working in the nursing home, the same thing, housekeeping. Even she got a degree in art, but we felt okay, we felt better. We got many things that maybe we don't even expect to have.
So starting here in America was easy.
That easy?
Yeah, was it easy?
I don't think it's not easy, but you can make easier. If you may mentally prepare. But if you don't come here mentally prepared, maybe it's too hard because you're expecting something that maybe you can have it. Yeah.
So, but were there any hard parts about starting over and living in America?
Well, my part maybe was the language at the first time.
Okay, the language barrier.
Language. Because when I came here, I finished French in Cuba. And when I tried to talk in English, my French messed it up. It was hard. Sometimes I say, oh, je m'appelle. No, not je m'appelle. My name is. But we fixing, you know, little by little. At one time you feel more confident. Yeah.
So abuelo, So for the cultural differences, how was it like to adapt to a new setting? Because Cuban culture and American culture aren't the same. So how did you adapt to that?
How I adapted to the new environment, you say what I can? Well, something happened. I love the American music. And they give me the chance to have my music. Because in Cuba, if you don't know, they don't allow you to listen American music. Even the Beatles. I had to hide in the closet, in the dorm, to listen the WQAM Miami, because they don't allow you to listen American music. But I feel free to listen classic music, popular music, rock and roll, Elvis Presley, everything. I be happy with that. I assimilated. Yeah, I listen music all the time. Music helped me to live, to keep going.
So adapting to the new like culture perspectives here in America was easy, or?
For me, it was easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was easy. I like to explore. I like to know new stuff. It's not like I keep in my barrier. No, I'm going. Diffusion. Mix it up.
What changes happened that made you feel more at home in America?
Well, maybe my personality. I like peace. I like couple friends. Not a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Couple friends. I like something that like here is that you can buy even at 7 years old. At 70 years old, I can buy. I can hiking. I can go to the park. That in Cuba, in our culture, people are 70 years old, maybe stay at home, sit down in the rocker chair.
So
here, no, you can get out and do stuff.
yeah. So the changes are that you felt like you had more freedom here in America, which made you stay more set.
Absolutely.
In America.
You don't even have to think about it. This is like a concrete, solid concrete, free. I love this. Be free.
Yeah. What were your first accomplishments here that you were proud of?
And I decided to go to university again. Here. I went to Onso to be a teacher. And I got what I missed for my curriculum to be a teacher in St. Louis or in Missouri in US. And I got this opportunity and I started to work teaching.
Where did you teach? What grade did you teach?
I was teaching biology in 11th grade, high school. I was teaching Spanish in 9 and 10, middle and high. And I teaching chemistry in high school.
What school did you teach?
But we call here general science. But they like a little physics, a little chemistry, a little biology, all in the same,
Yeah. So what school did you teach at here?
In St. Louis was in Career Academy in St. Louis, Sumner in North St. Louis, and Layton County in Crestview, Marquette High School.
So did some job or person help you here?
Yes, I am very thankful to Cuban family that I don't know how many cents I can give you. It was a very nice family. The name is Suarez Solar. He is with Pedro Suarez Solar. He was a doctor, and his whole family was great with us at that time. We whole family, Maria, me, Luis. Yeah. I ever say thank you to them for that. They help a lot with everything, driver license, what you need to know about this, going to shopping, how you do this. Yeah, they help a lot. At the same time that the Suarez Solar family helped us a lot, Here we had a little Cuban community. But something happened that is interesting. When we got here, the International Institute told to me that you are the first Cuban family to come here in long, long time. That happened in 1992. We had some Cuban people that come before and was not big, was couple family. And this family here. And we had a little community family that go into your home and try to help you with clothes, food, different kind of stuff. Yeah, this is a very nice experience.
Were you ever homesick about leaving your family in Cuba?
I don't think so. That I'm homesick? You can meet your family, but the life it was too hard.
I know, but did you miss them?
Yeah, you can meet your family, but the system made you to find some place that you say, I don't want to come back when the place you suffer. You suffer seeing the way they live. And you can hear, that happened to me when I went to the store. I don't want to go to the store sometimes because when I saw many things, I say, oh my God, my people don't have nothing and we have a lot. Yeah. I can tell you some story. The International Institute tell me to buy food for the first time with food stamp. And one store in Grand, and the name was National. When I go inside, I cry. My tear come because it was bread, food, and in Cuba, nothing. It's hard.
But did
you can miss something like that? No.
Did you miss your family?
Yeah, I agree. Family, but not the place.
Not the place, but what about your family? Ever miss them?
Yeah, I mean my mom, my brother, my sister, my nephew, friends, but not the system, not the place. No. What we had in 1959 was disgrace.
Got up early. I don't remember if the flight was in the morning or maybe in the afternoon. I think it was probably in the afternoon. I think it's probably in the afternoon because I remember when we arrived to Miami, it was kind of getting dark. And the reason why I know it was getting dark is because I stepped off the plane and we're walking down the walkway in the airport and I start seeing neon lights. Not that Cuba does not have neon lights. There's neon lights in Cuba, but not like here. Here, there's corporations everywhere. So you started seeing McDonald's, you start seeing, all these different neon lights from everywhere. And you're like, what is going on? Kind of like when you go to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
The same thing. Las Vegas has all this audio and visual candy to kind of like lure you. It's the same thing that I experienced when I stepped off the plane. So I remember being nighttime because I remember getting dark and then the neon lights came on. And so I remember that. And then, so a funny story, I remember, so in Cuba, due to the revolution and due to Cuba was kind of like Las Vegas back in the days. That was before Castro. The cars in Cuba were like the 1959 Chevys, the 1960s, you know what I mean? People in Cuba find ways to keep these cars running. I don't know how. Ingenuity, necessity is the mother of ingenuity, I guess that's the saying. So I remember like people driving these cars everywhere. But one thing that I noticed after I stepped off the plane in Miami and got to Miami, that changed. Because the cars are not like the 1959 Chevys. The cars are very, when I saw them, I thought they were futuristic. Kind of like, you see that Tesla, that new Tesla?
Yeah.
Kind of like that, boxy. And I was like, what in the world is going on? The lights and everything, because I'm not used to that, you know what I mean? So seeing that for the first time, I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is wild. Like, I was not expecting any of that. So for me, I was just like mesmerized, just looking at the cars, looking at the people, then the neon lights. So yeah, everything, it was like, it was all at once. Everything, everywhere, all at once. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It was kind of like that. It was just like, it was, yeah. But it was interesting. It was fun. I remember All of us arrived, and I think when we got to Miami, they gave us the option. I think the sponsors say, "Hey, look, we know that you came from Cuba, and you have two options. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one option is to stay in Miami, but you will not receive any government help." We did not know anybody in Miami. I don't think Abuela and Abuelo knew anybody in Miami. So I think the only other option we had was just to come to St. Louis, because St. Louis was going to be our home base, was where we were going to establish our roots. I remember flying into Lambert, and I remember, because I think either I had the window seat or maybe your mom had the window seat. I don't remember, but I do remember seeing the arch as the plane. You flew into St. Louis before. As the plane comes down into Lambert, you get to see the arch, and you're like, "Oh man, that's pretty cool." So, but yeah, and I remember we arrived. It was 1992, September 10th, but I remember it was nighttime, and then I believe the driver was Booker or Cooper. Booker or Cooper? Was it Booker? Yeah, I think his name is Booker, and then he had a sign. And then it said the Rodriguez family, and that's how we knew, like, okay, he's here for us. But I remember he gathered the suitcase, he got us into a van. The van had St. Louis International Institute, like on the side of it, kind of like a plaster on the side of it. And then, then I remember he drove us to Blaine Street, which is now where the Glennon Children's Hospital is in St. Louis. And I think we stayed in Blaine for maybe 6 months or so, or maybe close to a year. We stayed in Blaine. But yeah, so, and I remember arriving in Blaine. I remember one of the nights, it wasn't the first night, but maybe the second night that we stayed in Blaine. The area was not a good area. So the neighborhood there was a very low income neighborhood. And I remember folks playing basketball. So you could hear the basketball bouncing, on the playground at nighttime. I do remember that. I do remember that the morning after we arrived, your mother, Abuelo, and I, we went out for a walk around the neighborhood to kind of like see, well, we now here, let's see what this is all about. So we started walking around. And one of the fun memories about your mom is she started picking up candy wraps, because in Cuba, she used to collect candy wraps. It was sort of like they were so unusual and strange to have a product from the United States make it into Cuba, that if you were to get something that looked anything remotely to what the United States was, you would collect them. And then you would trade them, kind of like you would trade stamps, or like you would trade like Pokemon cards. You would trade them, you know what I mean? Right. So I remember her picking up the wraps off the street, and I'm thinking to myself, it is trash. What are you doing? It's like, no, I'm gonna collect this. This is for my collection. And I'm thinking, you don't need that anymore. They don't collect that over here, right? So that was funny. That was a funny memory of that day, yeah. But yeah, that's all I got.
How was it like growing up in St. Louis?
Oh, okay. So growing up in St. Louis, I remember for the first 3 years after I arrived, I think it was 3 years, three and a half, 4 years maybe. Not knowing the language, not knowing anybody. I remember like my life consisted of homeschool. So did not have a lot of friends because I did not know the language. Yeah. So yeah, I do remember that. I also remember watching Sesame Street, which you probably don't know what that is.
I do know what that is.
You know what Sesame Street is? How do you know what Sesame Street is?
No.
Okay, all right. So I used to watch Sesame Street, and the reason why I watched Sesame Street is because they would do the Spanish and English. Like they would count in numbers in English, but also they would count it in Spanish, and then that would kind of help me do my homework. Because sometimes I would take homework home from my ESL class. So yeah, I remember I attended Roosevelt High School, which is now closed. It's in St. Louis City, but it hasn't been in operation for a long time. I don't know when was the last. I don't know the last class that graduated from high school. I don't remember, but I do remember that. Like I said, again, low income neighborhood. the high school was not located in a good area. So I do remember metal detectors that were, that I would have to cross in the morning, you know what I mean? Because kids would bring all sorts of stuff to school, you know what I mean? And that was back in 1993, 94. Now, 2025, you are probably aware of the school shootings in America and everything, right? Stuff like that. So, but yeah, back in those days, I do remember metal detectors in the high school. But I had this great teacher, which I cannot recall his name now, but he was from Mexico. So, but he was my ESL teacher. So it was kind of nice to have a Mexican native that knew the language, because any questions I would have, he can just tell me in Spanish, and then that would help me with my homework or help me with the pronunciation and things like that. So I do remember that. But yeah, the first 3 years of me being here, it was basically watching Sesame Street, watching Who's the Boss. You probably don't know about that show.
Don't know who that
It was from the 90s. I think it was Tony Danza. Yeah. And who was the girl? Shoot. Milano? Something Milano? Yeah. I don't know her first name. Last name is Milano, but you can look it up. It's from the 90s. It's like Who's the Boss? So I would watch Who's the Boss, and then Sesame Street. And then I also will watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith.
I've heard of it. I've heard the theme song or something.
Theme song? Yeah.
Well,
my wife sings that song sometimes. She does, yeah. So I used
I used to live in Philadelphia,
Oh, that's right, because he is from Philadelphia. You're right. But yeah, so but I do remember that. So yeah, I would watch TV, and then go to school, and then eventually, slowly, I went from Roosevelt High School to Bridgeton. We moved from the city to St. Louis County, and then we lived in Bridgeton, and then I went to Pattonville High School. And then in Pattonville High School is where I met Matt Hesse, which I'm still friends with. We're still Facebook friends, and sometimes he calls me, and he's doing well. But yeah, I met him there, and I think after I met him is when I started slowly getting more confidence, and then talking to people, and because then I started understanding a little bit more, and then I'll be able to I remember one of the first things that I learned was what's up. And also like what's up? So I would think, what is up? Because I would break it down, and it's like, no, it's not what is up. It's just like saying que vola in Cuba. It's like, what's up? You know what I mean? So I would remember learning that. But no, he was the one that came out to me, because according to him, he saw me sitting alone in the during lunch. I was, because I didn't really know anybody and didn't talk to really anybody. So he saw me sitting alone, and then he was like, I'm gonna reach out to this guy. So he reached out to me, and then that's where our friendship started from there. And then, man, back in those days, he used to play baseball. He was big in baseball, man. He used to play for the Pirates. So Pattonville High School, the team is the Pirates from Pattonville. And I remember he played baseball like a lot. Like he was hardcore baseball player. And then towards my sophomore and junior year, then I did track and field. So I ran track and field, and I did the 800 meters.
What changes happened that made you feel more at home in America?
Okay. Well, learning the language, having Matt reach out to me, you know what I mean? Like he just took that upon himself. He didn't have to do that, so I appreciate that he did that. That made me feel welcome. I do remember that because of work, and because obviously in America, you are always striving to either, have a better income, a higher position, or things like that. The decision was made in the family to move to Miami, Florida. That's where we did. That's where I did my junior and my senior year in Hialeah, Miami, Florida. And then, but the reason why I'm bringing that up is going to the high school. It was like I never left the island, because the majority of the population in Miami is Cuban. Like there are places in Miami that you don't really need to speak Spanish. You don't really need to speak English. You speak Spanish all the time. You know what I mean? So going there and having been born in the island, and then going to the high school, I felt like it was the best time. It was really, really the best time because the friends, the culture, everything. It was kind of like we all had a common place we all came from, and now that we're here, we can all share our experiences and how are we doing sharing that common experience of coming to the United States. So I do remember that. So yeah, Hialeah, Miami Lakes was great. Moving to Miami, Florida, that also helped me kind of feel welcome in America. So to answer your question, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Were you ever homesick about leaving your family and friends in Cuba?
Abuela and Abuelo were the ones that really kept in contact with the folks back in the island. Me, I guess I got caught up in living in the United States and being friends and going to proms.
Yeah.
Or like trying to see what I was gonna do after high school because I didn't know like what I wanted to do after high. I got caught up into all of that I didn't really think of, man, what is going on with those folks back in the island? I just didn't really think of it like that. But Abuelo and Abuela did. Like they really kept in touch with the family and, they wrote letters and I remember things like that. But yeah.
What were some first memorable impressions of when you first landed in the U.S. as a child?
So I would say the first thing that we notice a lot, I think when you come from any country, is how big everything is. So like the houses are pretty big. The cars are big. The roads, the infrastructures are all like big and spacious. So I would say that was the first memory I had. Like the first time I experienced a grocery store, like going into a grocery store and picking what you want and purchasing it was in the United States. Because you don't have that in Cuba. In Cuba, you have a bodega, and you go there and they give you the portion per how many family members you have, and that's your food. You don't get you are given what is available at the time that you go. You don't get to go in and be like, you know what, today I don't want blueberries. I want raspberries for breakfast. That doesn't happen in Cuba.
Right. How was it like growing up in St. Louis at home and in school?
So I went to Dewey Elementary School, and that school was labeled a magnet school. And magnet school in the United States, what they do is that they'll take kids that I think they see potential and they'll put it in this program. And then what the program does is try to have schoolwork that would challenge the kids at whatever grade you're in. And actually, when I came to the United States, even though I finished third grade and I was going into fourth grade, they put me back in third grade. The faculty was like, well, she's 8 and most kids are in third grade are 8 anyways. If we put her in fourth grade, she'll be like the youngest one in that classroom. So why don't we just put her back in third grade? So I did third grade twice. When we put her back in third grade, so that way she has more time to learn English, right? I had 2 English teachers. One was a lovely lady. She was African-American, did a great job with us. And then another lady was Asian. I don't know from what country, or I would say she was Vietnamese or Cambodian or whatever, but she was Asian. And they were both like fantastic at teaching us. And the way their method of teaching was to read. So like they'll give you a book and then you have to learn how to read phonetically so you can pronounce the words, to the best of your ability. And they highly, highly would tell you to read books. And like they would say, make sure you read a lot of books. And then once every other week, you had to be able to read the book. You can still look at the words, but you would have to read the entire book without messing up once. If you messed up, you didn't get the reward. And the reward was a $2 bill, which wasn't in circulation. They they would give it to you with like, oh, you get this. And if you keep it, it will be something that you remember. I was able to do enough of whatever the challenges that they gave me that like I had like a good little like reward pile at the end of the year. And then I had a great teacher. Her name was Miss Hopkins. She's married, Mrs. Hopkins, but just always said Miss Hopkins. And she would sit with me in her class. So she would tell her students, work on this notebook. And then she will sit with me with index cards. On one side of the index card, she would do it. She would draw the scene. So like, let's just say like it was a book. She would draw a book. And then on the other side, she would write book. And then what she would do, she would show me the illustration. Mm-hmm. And then I would have to say back to her what it is. And then we started with that. And then we went to like saying like, hi, how are you? Fine. And whatever. But the biggest challenge, I think for anybody that comes to the United States is when you're learning a subject, you're learning it in English. I went from Cuba not knowing any English to then now I live in St. Louis and I had to learn the subjects in a foreign language that I didn't even understand. Now, of course, they give you space to learn, right? Because you're not going to be as proficient as someone that knows the language, correct? But that was hard because like trying to understand and keep up with your fellow students, also talking to students, right? Because you don't know the language, right? She did a really good job of sitting with me a lot and going through those index cards. And she also did a really good job getting students to talk to me. So like one of my earlier friends were Meredith and Sarah. And I mean, they would talk and I would kind of understand some of it. But like, it was nice just to have like company that someone watched out for me because they could have just like completely ignore me, not really make the effort. But she made a lot of effort that year as far as like teaching me and then like making sure that like I had friends, my well-being was right, good and I was learning and I felt included. So.
When did you finally start to feel more at home in America? And what helped that transition?
So I'll go back to my friends in Dewey Elementary School. I remember the first Halloween, and I had no idea what Halloween was. and I remember them telling me like, oh, we're going to dress up and we're going to do this and we're going to meet each other at, let's say, Meredith House. I'm not sure if it was Meredith House, but let's say that's what happened. And these girls were so kind that they had a Halloween costume for me with the basket that you carry around to collect candy. And I remember being like some kind of like old Hollywood, I don't know, person. I just thought that was so nice, right? Because they could have they could have just been like, whatever, you're gonna like get out of here, right? But they didn't. They made sure that I was like included and I was part of it, and like I had my first Halloween with my friends and we went around and we trick-or-treated and we got candy, and when we ate the candy, it was just like the best part. So I think when you have friends that are inclusive of you and having the experience, then it helps you become like you feel like you're part of whatever new community you're having. Mm-hmm.
Were you ever homesick about leaving your family and friends in Cuba? Did you still feel like Cuba like is home?
So I don't know if I ever felt homesick for the country, but definitely for the family, right? Like all of your family is back in Ireland. That it's not, they can't leave and visit me, and I can't go and visit them. And if we did go and visit them, we would be in huge, lack of a better word, contradiction with our visa, because one of the things that for the Cuban visa, you cannot leave the country for the 5 years, or you will not be allowed to apply for citizenship. And so my dad was adamant that we did not leave the United States for whatever time the US imposed on that visa. I miss my abuelita. I miss my dad's uncles because I spent a lot of time with them. And then, I miss some of my friends because I had good friends in the neighborhood growing up, and I had good friends at school. But for the country itself, I think when you start understanding how that country decided to treat your parents, the warm feelings just are not there. Yeah. So for family members, absolutely. I mean, it would be nice for me to have a birthday party and have them there. We didn't have that. We had Cuban friends and friends from school and stuff like that. But, our families just wasn't a big part of our lives when we lived in the United States. And they still are not. A lot of them are still back in Cuba.
Starting over in the United States wasn't just one experience. It was 3 different journeys happening at the same time. For the father, it meant taking whatever jobs he could, learning a new language, and realizing that even though Cuba and Florida are so close, they can feel like completely different worlds. For the son, it meant starting over in a new school and slowly finding where he belonged. For the daughter, it meant seeing everything with fresh eyes, a place that felt big, different, and full of possibilities. It wasn't easy, but step by step, they kept going. And their story doesn't end here. In our next episode, we'll see where life has taken them, where they are now, and how everything they went through shaped who they've become today. And if their story has moved you, and you'd like to support refugees and families who are starting over in a new country, considering donating to United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees that help them rebuild their lives with safety, dignity, and hope. Thank you for listening to Stories Beyond Borders, and I'll see you in our final episode.